Hey! So, Hold Still by Nina LaCour. Um, the best way I can describe this book is, ooh, yeah, it's heavy. Um, it's about suicide. So, yeah, very heavy. Specifically, it's about a teenage girl, 16-year-old girl by the name of Caitlin, dealing with her grief after her best friend, Ingrid, committed suicide. And it is not. It was not easy to read. It's not easy to talk about either. It's it's very raw. LaCour herself, when she was in high school, a boy she kind of knew committed suicide. She didn't know him well. He wasn't a close friend or anything like that. She shared a couple classes with him. She thought he was cute, but he committed suicide, and it's something that's sort of still with her. She talks in the back about the fact that, you know, over 20 years later, it's something that still sometimes she still sometimes thinks about. Because that's grief. Grief is something that there's no real getting over. It's just learning to live with. Um, yeah. So this covers course of 1 year following Ingrid's death and Caitlin's struggles to kind of find a way to deal with it. Should mention as well, there are also illustrations, some illustrations by Maya Nolting, just a few here and there. So yeah, Caitlin finds a journal that Ingrid had left under Caitlin's bed. So she spends a while. She sort of. She doesn't want to finish the journal because once it's done, it's done. So she spends a long time making her way through it. Most of the year, actually. And every time she reads an entry, it fucks her up all over again. So yeah, initially she's just completely like in the first few chapters she is just completely stopped. And then, yeah, over time, sort of life continues as it has to. Um, she becomes friends with a new girl, Dylan, who is sort of an outcast because she's a lesbian. Um, Takes place in like a suburb of San Francisco. So like, just a little outside San Francisco, fairly small town, small school, um, and yeah, some of the people there are kind of judgy. A lot of them are just not particularly good people, really. Um, but yeah, Dylan sort of forces her way into Caitlin's life. Just sort of decides, hey, we're gonna be friends now. Um, Dylan does have sort of a bit of tragedy in her own past as well, so that helps to bond them, even if it takes a long time for Dylan to talk about her own tragedy. But the fact that it's there is something that allows her, I guess, to recognize it in Caitlin. And so yeah, Caitlin and Dylan become friends, though there is drama there. There's a falling out for a while because of Caitlin. Caitlin starts to feel guilty about replacing Ingrid, and sort of briefly shuts Dylan out. Um, Caitlin also gets a boyfriend, a cute boy named Taylor. They do a project together for a math class. It's actually kind of a fun project. They're supposed to the project is they have to work together to talk about the life of a mathematician, and they choose I believe it was Jacques Dessoir, I believe was his name. And he was a pirate. So, you know, that's very cool. Anyway, that's sort of beside the point there. But yeah, so she does start moving on with her life a little bit, but there are good days and bad days. She still backslides. Um, because again, that's grief. That's life. Um, there's a lot of other stuff going on as well. I mean, it does deal a fair bit with just being in high school, um, the dramas of that, but there's trying to find the ways that she tries to find ways to move on. Um, Her dad gets her a whole bunch of wood that she can use to for like because she once built a stool, built like a step ladder at a camp once. So he's like, "Hey, you're good at building things. Hey, here's wood." She's like, it had been like 4 years earlier that she'd done that, but she does start. She does start using it. She does find a use for all the wood. Um, there's also her photography. Um, Caitlin and Ingrid were both really interested in photography, both very good at photography. There's a photography class at their school, which is that a thing in the U.S.? I don't think my school ever had a photography class. There's an art class, but because I've seen, I remember I played Class of '09, and that one had a photography class. Is that just a thing in the U.S.? Anyway, yeah, they were both really good in that photography class, but with Ingrid being sort of this natural prodigy at it, and the prize pupil of the teacher, who has her own grief to deal with, losing a student that she saw a lot of potential in and feels guilty for not recognizing the pain. Because that's another thing that's a big part of this. Is, that feeling that, if I'd just done more, if I paid more attention, if I could have stopped this. Because that's sort of how people feel when someone they know commits suicide. What could I have done? Which I would expect is probably an exceptionally shitty feeling. Never had to deal with that myself, never known anyone who committed suicide or anything like that, but I would imagine that would be an exceptionally shitty feeling. So, so there's the teacher is not really dealing with her own grief in the most... She's dealing with a way that sort of cuts out Caitlin, which hurts her a lot. So the whole thing is, it is very much about the grief and pain of losing to someone to suicide. But there is also a through line of hope. Hope is a big thing. The knowledge that life does go on. And, obviously, suffice to say, if you are having suicidal thoughts, talk to someone. If you know someone who's going through it, talk to them, encourage them to get help. All that fun stuff. People have asked me in the past to read a little bit from the books that I read, so here's the first little bit of it. I watch drops of water fall from the ends of my hair. They streak down my towel, puddle on the sofa cushion. My heart pounds so hard I can feel it in my ears. Sweetheart, listen. Mom says Ingrid's name and I start to hum. Not the melody to a song, just one drawn-out note. I know it makes me seem crazy, I know it won't make anything change, but it's better than crying, it's better than screaming, it's better than listening to what they're telling me. Something is smashing my chest. An anchor, gravity. Soon I'll cave in on myself. I stumble upstairs and yank on the jeans and tank top I wore yesterday. Then I'm out the door, up the street, around the corner to the bus stop. Dad calls my name, but I don't shout back. Instead, I step onto the bus just as its doors are shutting. I find a seat in the back and ride away, through Los Cerros and through the next town, until I'm on an unfamiliar street, and that's where I get off. I sit on the bench at the bus stop, try to slow my breathing. The light here is different, bluer. A smiling mom with a baby stroller glides past me. A tree branch moves in the breeze. I try to be as light as air. But my hands are wild, they need to move, so I pick at a piece of the bench where the wood is splintering. I break a short nail on my right hand even shorter, but I manage to pull off a small piece of wood. I drop it into my cut palm and pry off another. All last night I listened to a recording of my voice reciting biology facts on repeat. It plays back in my head now, a soundtrack for catastrophe, and drowns everything out. If a brown-eyed man and a brown-eyed woman have a child, the child will probably have brown eyes. But if both the father and the mother have a gene for blue eyes, It's possible that their child could have blue eyes. An old guy in a snowflake cardigan sits next to me. My hand is now half full of wooden strips. I feel him watching, but I can't stop. I want to say, "What are you staring at? It's hot, it's June, and you're wearing a Christmas sweater." "Do you need help, darling?" the old guy asks. His mustache is wispy and white. Without looking from the bench, I shake my head. No. He takes a cell phone from his pocket. "Would you like to use my phone?" My heart beats off rhythm and it makes me cough. "May I call your mother?" Ingrid has blonde hair. She has blue eyes, which means that even though her father's eyes are brown, he must have a recessive blue eye gene. A bus nears. The old guy stands, wavers. "Darling," he says. He lifts his hand as if he's going to pat my shoulder, but changes his mind. My left hand is all the way full of wood now, and it's starting to spill over. I am not a darling. I am a girl ready to explode into nothing. The old guy backs away, boards the bus, vanishes from sight. The cars pass in front of me, one blur of color after another. Sometimes they stop at the light or for someone to cross the street, but they always go away eventually. I think I'll live here, stay like this forever. Pick away at the bench until it's a pile of splinters on the sidewalk. Forget what it feels like to care about anyone. A bus rolls up, but I wave it past. A few minutes later, two little girls peer at me from the backseat of a blue car. One is blonde and fair, one is brunette, darker. Colored barrettes that decorate their hair. It isn't impossible if they're sisters, but it's unlikely. Their heads tilt to see me better. They stare hard. When the light changes to green, they reach their small hands out the rolled down window and wave so hard and fast that it looks like birds have bloomed from their wrists. Sometime later, my dad pulls up. He leans to the passenger side and pushes the door open. The smell of leather. Thin, cold, air-conditioned air. I climb in. Let him take me home. I sleep through the next day. Each time I go to the bathroom, I try not to look in the mirror. Once I catch my reflection. It looks like I've been punched in both eyes. I can't talk about the day that follows that. And it sort of goes on from there for a little while. So yeah. It's really well written and very raw, very powerful. It's hard to recommend it because it is a rough read, especially if suicide is something that you have experience with. If you've lost anyone to suicide, I can imagine that this book would be very triggering. But as I mentioned, it is also hopeful. It is about... I don't really want to say moving on, but just moving. It is about life going on and you'll find new friends, new love, new everything. So life continues. Even if the ache is still there, it becomes manageable. So it is a hard book, but a very good one. On a side note, there's also questions for discussion, so. Very good, so it's a very good book for like a book club type of thing. It even comes with prompt for discussion questions. Yandy! Very useful. So yeah. After this one, I do need something way lighter. So the next thing I read is going to be Howl's Moving Castle by Diana Wynne Jones. I'm reading next book I read is going to be goddamn kids book because I friggin' need it. But yeah. Hold Still by Nina LaCour. Very, very good book.